Baruch Yahweh, Baruch Yahushai, Baruch Yahweh, Baruch Yahushai, Baruch Yahweh, Baruch Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Baruch Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Bow. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim to Zadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the pre-Shaman, in this week's topic, I'll be talking about the weaponization of debt. I've been wanting to do this show. I was listening to the Kaiser report and they're going into it. Argentina, not just Argentina, many different nations are in huge amounts of debt, all right? Primarily the US dollar, because that's through the petrodollar system, which is the fact that Saudi Arabia, which makes up a major part of OPEC, will only trade oil in US dollars. And you have something called SWIFT. SWIFT is what nations use for trade and currency and stuff like that, but it's based in the US dollar. That's why different nations are trying to find alternative means around the dollar, because their own currencies are weak. The Russian currency, the Chinese currency, and the stronger of these fiat currencies is the US dollar. And how has the United States weaponized debt? Well, it's simple. In today's day and time, strategically, no one wants to fight wars anymore, straight out, outright. You know what I mean? They don't want the casualty, they don't want the cost. So there's different ways now to do it, such as balkanization, which is having these countries fight internal battles, internal wars to create this destabilized state that was once unified. Instead of sending your own people in it, let them fight amongst themselves. Old tactic of the divide and conquer. That's one way to do it. And you see the United States do these things with different proxies. And, for example, supporting the Kurds to create Western Kurdistan in Syria. That's balkanizing a region of Syria. Funding jihadists, these types of things. Imagine the government all of a sudden was to fund the Crips and the Bloods and the Latin Kings and told them, look, man, you can have your own little state. And, of course, they'll create all types of violence if you give them rockets and these types of things to own different parts of California, wherever they reside at, So it's the same thing, just trying to simplify things, right? That way they do the fighting, you don't have to worry about it. Now, another way to do it is debt, is debt. Lend to countries, all right, that need a small loan, give them an enormous loan. If you're in the hole $100, right? You said, look, man, all I need is $100, but I give you 1,000. More likely than not, you're going to spend more than what's required of you. You're going to spend more than the $100. You're going to spend probably $200, $300, $400, and bring yourself into more debt. Now, the nations have been trying to buy up gold, because gold is a defense. It's a true defense to this this predator banking lending pit created by the Rothschild. This Rothschild ethic of banking, all right, to pretty much make you a debt slave. The way to defend it is gold, because the way they get you is the interest. The scriptures speak against interest, and the Bible is referred to as usury. If you lend to somebody, you're not supposed to put interest on it, because the scriptures I see it. This is even in the quote-unquote Quran, man. All right, so those guys over there in the Middle East, they understand it. But yet, that's how you become enslaved. The scriptures tell you that the borrower is servant to the lender. And they know this, right? So I need $100, you give me $1,000 at interest, And more likely than not, where you just needed this 100, you're not going to be disciplined enough, but you're going to overspend, all right? Deficit spending. You're going to overspend, all right? Spend money you don't have. Put yourself into more of a debt. And instead of defaulting, creating, bankruptcy and all that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lend you more, right? I'm going to lend you so much money to the point that when I'm ready to collect, you have to give me some type of collateral. And the collateral is the land in different territories. And that's how you do it nowadays. That's how debt has become weaponized. Instead of colonizing the area, going in there and taking the shit by force, killing people and using guns and such, Nah, you have something now they call the IMF, International Monetary Fund, right? Which most of these nations, if they have sense, they're trying to avoid, but they're trying to give you a reason to borrow from them, because they know once you borrow, they got you, right? So what they'll do now is, when you can't pay it, the collateral you have to give up is your own land. So check this out. You just gave up actual land. You gave up something of intrinsic value, all right, for something that was created out of nothing, out of nowhere, out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? I gave you nothing out of thin air. It's nothing more than credits, which they could just type in numbers and create an enormous amount of credit, which is a form of this fiat currency, the US dollar. And this is how they cripple countries too. You just took all this US dollar, right? You took all this US dollar. What that's going to do is inflate your currency. Because all I have to do is print more dollars on the United States end. So that's how the United States even weaponized the dollar itself. Look at most of these countries that ask for different bailouts. What happens is their currency gets inflated, man. You have a weaker currency of yourself now. What you would want to do is when they want to send you aid, quote unquote, is you want to reject it, but these nations don't do it, you know? But certain other nations are starting to wise up to it. All right? You see, China hates this system that I'm talking about. The fact that you have to rely on this US dollar, because China, as large a population they have, you know, they can't create oil out of thin air. And oil is a natural resource that they want. They don't have it. They don't have oil. They don't have water. So they're trying to find, you know, different ways to get this oil. So they're coming up with a new system that's going to have trade in the gold-backed yuan. You know, that's their hopes. You know, which, you know, I believe personally that this is done by design. The goal ultimately is to collapse the US dollar, to create a new currency, whether it be digital, whether it be gold-backed. Ultimately, we know that these currencies are going to have to collapse, all of them. They're all fiat. No fiat currencies ever last. Which then the private bankers, the elites, Job 9:24, who the Most High gave the world, the power of the world to, are going to institute a new currency. They might bypass gold and go straight digital, because this chip, the RFID microchip, is going to be that currency. It's going to be what people are going to need to trade in, a completely digital currency. Now, you have people that's saying Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is fiat currency. It's digital fiat currency. Oh, but it has to be mined. You can't do this. You can't do that to it. It's still digital fiat currency. It's not something tangible. But even if you go that route, ultimately we know that a system is going to be implemented pursuant to the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse, to where trade is going to completely be digital. Currency, whether it's paperback or whatever, is going to be done away with. The scriptures speak about the fact that the 10 toes in the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, you know, partly mixed with iron, partly mixed with clay. The clay that this represents is this debt. Scriptures in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, tells you he laden himself with thick clay. Hebrew, ibatya. It means debt, man. This is a debt-based society, and Esau has found a way to weaponize it, man. They took a basic principle of, like, let's use us on a whole, right? If we can't pay the banks, these FRNs, which the interest rates automatically puts us in slavery, we got to give up our hard-earned, actual tangible assets, our property, our homes, your car. All right, for something that they could manipulate, man, something that they could control out of thin air. This is why the scriptures tell you that gold should be money, man. Silver should be money. Tangible items, man. Because if you have tangible items, you cannot fluctuate interest rates, and if you can't fluctuate interest rates, you can't increase the amount of money you're pushing into the society. You can't do that with gold. You can't just all of a sudden say, you know what, we're gonna have 10 million amounts of gold, billions amounts of gold, because you can't do that. Gold is something that has to be mined, and it's something that's a finite resource. And it's truly a defense onto this bullshit, man. That's why these nations are going to it. RT released an article about the Muslim states are trying to go to it, which I did a show on. Argentina and all these different nations, man. Venezuela. Because they see what the United States is doing, man. The moment you're in trouble, the moment you need a little money, so we're going to send you this aid. We're going to send you $1 billion to trap you. And when you can't pay it, we're going to take your land. Which is the goal of it anyways. You know, that's why they lend you the money. They don't lend the money to help any of these nations out, man. They help the money. They give the money with the intent of holding them, holding land's collateral, man, for the banks. As one of the Rothschilds says, look, man, I don't give a fuck who runs the country. Just give me control of the bank. Give me control of the money supply. That's who really runs the country. And there's no way to reverse what's happening now, man. The United States is in trillions of debt. And the moment you try to print your own currency, you're going to be another Abraham Lincoln. You're going to be another JFK. If you try to print your own currency backed by gold to take this nation out of debt, you're done. They'll assassinate your ass. So with that in mind, it shows you everything that we're saying according to the Bible has to come to pass. Because the way these elites are moving, they're working according to how prophecies are going. And by the way, in doing so, what I've mentioned, weaponizing the US dollar, all right, to put countries, to cause hyperinflation in other countries, to weaponize the dollar, to take states, to create sanctions, all right? The only reason sanctions work is because the dollar is the world reserve currency, man. That's another way that they create regime change in countries. See, this is a different type of warfare that's being done today. Sanctions are a form of warfare. Cold War as they call it, but it's still war at the end of the day. It's still nations crippling other nations. But this Cold War is going to eventually lead to a hot war, and a hot war that's going to end all wars. A nuclear missile strike from all these different nations that I've mentioned: United States, Russia, China, its allies. This is that Armageddon that you hear about in the Bible. All right, this is the 200,000 army that you hear about. The army that you hear about in Joel. Okay, is this third world war, and it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. As you know, as we constantly bring out, and hey man, you call it beating the dead horse? Fuck it, we have to keep bringing this thing out, man, because it's gonna come to pass. All right, that was a quick in transit. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Hashem Rakakodash. Of course, double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone true well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, man. You Akim to Sadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. And Shalak Rayam, I'll call Adawamim, Wakawayim, 2/3, and those that try to come against this word or flag this video. Shalom.